when you were playing in like
college ball. I played art school ball. So I played college ball. Did you play college ball?
I was on a college team. The playing part of it was subjective to who you ask. I didn't play that much, but labrum surgery and Tommy John, and I'm like 5'10" and right-handed, so my projection ceiling was probably as low as it could have been in college. That's actually why I started getting into gloves in the first place. I had so much time, like when I was injured, all I did was like lace gloves for guys on the team that broke lace, conditioned gloves, breaking gloves for guys who didn't like want to. So like having that much downtime, like it was either in the training room or like in the dugout or locker room, like relacing gloves. That's all I did in college basically. So yes, I was on the team, but not between the foul lines very much. I threw a few innings like my junior year, but you know, after 2 surgeries and
you were a hard thrower, right? What'd you top out at?
Man, I think I topped out at like mid-90s.
Wow.
But again, this was Junior Olympics in Arizona where the air is like nothing and it's 100 degrees. So your arm is just, I think everybody's like max velocity is in Arizona because it's like the ball just like, there's no humidity, the air is super thin and it's hot and it's dry heat. So you're just like, oh, I feel good. I think that's probably why injuries occurred so early because like I'm not a big guy. I don't have like lanky arms like a typical pitcher. So I was kind of exceeding the limits of my own body. And then my arm just kind of fell apart from there. But I'm glad it happened because it got me into like gloves.
Yeah, so repairing everyone's gloves, you got to get, I guess, more familiar with different models, different brands, and like, Did you start collecting gloves at that point, or?
Yeah, I mean, I was collecting gloves probably before college, just because, I don't know, from an early age, I always thought gloves were like the most sentimental product in any sport.
Yeah.
Like you see like any other piece of equipment, like you throw a bat into your bag, like no one cares about helmets really. Shoes, I think people appreciate a lot, but they cycle through them more often. Glove is like, you know, how many people's like dads still have their Little League glove? Like a good amount that played, you know, like it was always just like that cherished item. So I always held on to mine even when I got new ones.
Yeah.
I had trouble letting go of the earlier ones that were kind of breaking down and stuff. So that kind of led to just curiosity of different brands, different patterns, different sizes, and then having the ability to kind of look at each one of them. But I didn't really get into like the more like the finer details of gloves until college, like actually relacing, because that's when you start to pull apart a glove. Like if I'm collecting a glove and buying it for my own, you know, personal enjoyment, I'm not gonna like tear it apart, you know. Right. So it wasn't until like later when it was other people's gloves that I started like experimenting with them. So, but you started with shoes, right?
Right. And I liked what you said about baseball gloves because it's like a relationship with the product. And what I always like to say, it's both literally and metaphorically an extension of yourself.
Yeah, it's true. There's something about it, like, I know for like innovation's sake, this might not be the case, but a full leather product, like to me was always just like, I don't know, something about like the ruggedness of it and the ability for it to, you know, it always starts out as this one shape, and then me putting my hand into it and using it, it becomes a totally different shape that only maybe I like. Maybe, you know, you put your hand in my glove that I broke in, you might be like, oh, this is weird. But a glove that I broke in myself is going to fit me specifically. And I think that's kind of where your whole development started, is like, why can't we just do this from the beginning? We've known each other since like 2015 or 16. I think you made my glove for me in 2016. That was way before we were both at Marucci. So I've definitely noticed and appreciated what you've been doing for longer than that. So it's really cool now to like have such different ends of like the development spectrum in one place. It's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. So I remember that time, and it was, and I was very aware of you and what you did and your knowledge of gloves, and so I'd love to hear just like you walk through what it was like to get your glove modified or get your first Carpenter glove, because I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Well, after I saw the price, I was like, this thing better be unbelievable. So the first one I got was the full synthetic, and I remember, oh my God, I was like measuring each digit of my fingers, because on your website it was like, take a piece of paper and mark and then measure it, and I was like, oh my God. And I remember doing that, and then like I wasn't sure of my measurements at first. I'm like, I want to get this perfect. So I did it like 3 more times, and then like compared all of them to make sure they were the right size. And then I remember messaging you and saying, have you ever done 2 in the pinky for infield? And I think you hadn't done it at that point. And I've always had smaller hands, so like I always liked shifting. But once I got the glove and I saw like the actual shape of the pattern and the leverage of the pinky stall and the thumb stall and the way it like forced your hand closed and created that like almost, it was a very different shape than I'd ever seen, but it also made more sense than anything I'd ever seen. The weight aside, like the thing, I thought you like injected helium into it. Like it was the lightest thing I'd ever felt, and it fit perfectly. But to me, it was like the way my hand, I didn't have to like struggle against closing the glove at all. And that was in a straight up hand position, which I was not used to doing. But having that like continuous leverage down the pinky and up the thumb created that like tong closure where you're getting tip to tip. Sometimes you get gloves that close from the inside and the thumb and pinky kind of stay open. And having that consistent leverage all the way through from bottom to top creates that much more like extended feel. That was like the first thing I noticed from that first glove. And then right after that, since I've always liked leather as a shell component and the way it breaks in and has kind of a different sound maybe. Because sometimes the synthetic shells have like a deeper tone to them. That was something I had to get used to. I actually ended up gaming that glove for like 3 adult league seasons, which I'm not trying to brag here, but I was pretty awesome adult league defender at third base. I picked third because I didn't have to move very much. And then I had you modify a previous glove of mine, and that was just like the best of both worlds. Much lighter. You still had the measurements for my hand, so it fit perfectly, and then I got the benefits of the leather shell as well. So it was kind of, and it definitely was like a light bulb going off in my head, like this needs to be a thing that more people have access to, which I think us and you in particular going over to Marucci and combining these 2 technologies is gonna like really open a lot of people's eyes in the market that maybe haven't had the resources or the just not educated enough to know that something like that exists. Plus you're just one guy in a shop. Now you have the backing of like a brand and somebody, like a whole team of people that believe in what you're doing, and the ability to release that to the masses is going to be huge for baseball. Because I don't know about most people, but I needed every advantage I can get in the field. So something like this comes along, like I'm going to go for it because I need the help. So unless you're like the best infielder in the world and you can field with anything, then do whatever you want. But everyone else can benefit from what you're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm excited about what's going to happen, and I was excited to get your feedback initially on those early gloves, just because I respected what you were doing. I'm always looking for feedback, and of course I'm working with pro players, I'm looking for their feedback, but often I find the best feedback that I get is from people in the industry or glove enthusiasts that collect gloves that are just passionate about gloves and really seem to know the market. You know, I was excited to make those early gloves just because I knew that you were passionate about gloves and you really knew what you're talking about, and that's the kind of feedback, the kind of people I tend to seek out. And so to kind of like combine our passions and our different sets of like expertise and opinions and thoughts about gloves, and to really you know, I think Marucci's given us the platform to really like do what we want to do and think what we're capable of, and I'm just kind of excited about that future.
Yeah, I mean, like with the whole Marucci angle, like I think you were the first person to contact me, like with this information that you were gonna, you know, likely go and work with Marucci and kind of forming almost like a trio of product experts, I guess. And so that to me was like the most exciting thing. One, because if your technology was going to get open to the public, like I knew I wanted to be involved with whatever brand was bringing that to the market, because in my opinion, like that's going to be one of the biggest evolutions that gloves have seen in a very long time. And I, as a glove person in general, plus I was in the industry, like I knew I had to be involved in that somehow, and it kind of just lined up perfectly where you were coming over, they needed someone to come over, and I was like, this is going to be incredible, because selfishly, like I had a lot that I thought I could learn from you, from just a glove expertise angle, which I have, as well as just having my name attached in some way was like so cool to me. Like growing up loving gloves, knowing that you and your technology is getting the backing of like a major brand in baseball. Like if I could somehow weasel my way into that, I was like, let's go. So that was awesome for me.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was excited. I always felt that we have complementary skills and talents, and like, but the thing we have in common, I think we're both really passionate about gloves, and we really like live, eat, and sleep, and think about gloves all the time, and you know, I kind of feel like I couldn't do what you do almost. Like I feel like I'm very narrowly focused. I'm into the details of the lining and specifically how it's made and thinking about technology. But I don't have that larger viewpoint of like tanneries and the market and all the different models and the competitors and what everyone else is doing. I think you have a broader perspective that I don't have, and that, you know, you're able to bring. You just bring a lot to the table that you know, glad, happy to work with you.